What is something that was crazy at the time but proven to be correct? Famous author Ernest Hemingway told his friends and family he believed the FBI was spying on him. They all told him he was paranoid or crazy. Years after his death, his suspicions were confirmed when the FBI declassified their spying on him. The Missoula megafloods that carved up the scablands of eastern Washington and Oregon. The geologist who proposed it was ignored when he proposed it, and then derided when he insisted. He lived long enough to see other geologists start to realize he was right, though, so there is some justice to be had. The spokes in the rings of Saturn, originally observed by an amateur and dismissed as an optical illusion for the better part of a century, the Voyager probes confirmed their existence. The experts thought that the spokes couldn't be real because they appeared to rotate at the speed of the planet, not the speed of the rings. Turns out they follow the magnetic field of the planet. That stomach ulcers were caused by the Helicobacter pylori bacteria. Conventional medical wisdom was that stomach ulcers were caused by lifestyle factors. The bacteria theory was met with great skepticism and criticism. One of the researchers, Barry J. Marshall, resorted to proving it by ingesting the H. pylori bacteria. 22 years later, Marshall and Robin Warren were awarded the Nobel Prize for Physiology for their discovery. In 1942, conspiracy theories began to spread that Nazis had landed a submarine on a Florida beach and were now living in America. It turns out they actually had. In fact, they landed 2 submarines, one in Maine and one in Florida. https www.fbi.gov/history/famouscases/nazisaboteurs/George-hash. Text equals post-war %20 debriefing %20 of %20 German %20 personnel, a %20 rather %20 desperate %20 attempt %22. Tracy Campbell's The Year of Peril. America in 1942 has a good section on the rumors and eventual discovery that it was true. That the platypus was a real animal. The researcher who received the first specimen back in Europe was certain he was being pranked and meticulously dissected it to try to find where it was sewn together. A dingo really did eat her baby. Herodotus described that sailors who sailed south along the African coast saw the sunrise in the north instead of the south. Many at the time thought this proved Herodotus was peddling absurd rumors. Even Herodotus himself expresses doubt about it in the text. But he was in fact correct, as the sun does that when you cross the equator. He also wrote that the Nile floods were caused by melting snows. Again, people thought this absurd. How can you have snow in the blisteringly hot and dry south? He was again proved correct, as the snows are on Kilimanjaro. The Hawaii Mailbox Conspiracy. Hawaii's former chief of police and his wife, a deputy prosecutor, conspired to have their relative jailed for stealing a mailbox so they could avoid legal issues regarding a property that the relative owned. When the relative's claims of being framed were first reported, a lot of people scoffed at the idea. Why would 2 politically powerful and well-off individuals attempt such an action? Then, as information slowly came out, the entire affair was laid bare and it turned out the relative was right. Fallout from the issue has worked its way up beyond the chief of police position to the former prosecutor and other branches of government. A book was written on the subject by the federal public defender assigned to the case, Alexander Silvert. There is much more information in the online reviews. https www.amazon.com/mailboxconspiracyGreatestCorruptionHistoriaBook/dp/b09klbwfr8 Pretty much any physics developed post-1890-ish. The movement of continental plates. Germ theory. That woman had good reason to sue McDonald's over the temperature of their coffee. The germ theory. The scientist who proposed the gut-brain connection used to get laughed out of conferences as a cook. Bill Cosby being a rapist. The CIA is selling drugs in black neighborhoods to raise money to arm and support a guerrilla army. In Latin America, the business plot where a bunch of businessmen decided FDR wasn't who they wanted in charge and attempted to install a retired general named Smedley Butler. Ernest Hemingway was convinced he was being spied on by the FBI and no one believed him. Turns out he was. The #Free Britney movement in the beginning was seen as people reading way too much into things and being weird. They were actually onto something. If you wash your hands after handling corpses in the morgue, then when you go deliver a baby, the mother and infant probably won't die. That mosquitoes spread diseases like yellow fever and malaria. Tuskegee experiments. People said they were conspiracies and that the government would never use unwilling black men as test subjects. Well, government documents say that's a lie. Nuclear fusion for the first time in 2022 was claimed to have output more energy than put in. Literally today. It was confirmed to be true. Man can fly a machine that weighs tons, and land it without crashing it. Edit. Measurements.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.